Hello, Craig from fixitfallows in the garage, and I am working on the wife's Carrera Kraken, and it's on its back at the moment because I'm going to be changing the wheels out on this bike. Now this bike is from 2012, so it's quite long in the tooth, and back then 26-inch wheels were the norm. Since then we acquired a Carrera Vengeance for my son way back when, and then my daughter took it on. And the Vengeance came with 27.5 wheels. So what I'm thinking is as the majority of the bikes we ride are all 27.5, when we're out riding on trails or whatever, I've got to carry a couple of different types of inner tubes, 27.5 and 26. So what I'm thinking is, now that this Vengeance is no longer being ridden because my daughter is now riding the carbon hardtail, what about if I take the 27.5 wheels off of the Vengeance and put them onto the Kraken? What would it do? Do they fit? We shall see. As well as that, I'm going to be fitting a new 42 tooth cassette onto the back of the Kraken. We need a little bit more, how shall we say, leg friendly gearing for hill climbing. And also I am going to be getting rid of these Suntour XCR forks, which do have lockout, but they're not air sprung, they are old coil springs inside, and the things are a little bit clumsy, creaky and heavy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit a set of cheap Chinese air forks on there. Now I got these from China off of AliExpress. I think that was about £80 all in. You've got a bit of rebound adjustment on them. You have remote lockout as well. The stanchions are magnesium alloy, so they're quite light, and they're air, so you can pump them up as to whatever pressure you want. As I said, again on the wife's bike, so this bike, as I've said before, doesn't get ridden hard. She's a very conservative rider, only rides on the flats, really prefers to be riding on tarmac and at a push, a cinder bed pathway, not really an off-road rider, so this bike isn't going to get stressed out. So it's a perfect bike to try some of this stuff out on. As you saw in the past, I have put a dropper post on this bike. I drilled the frame out and that's worked a treat. Arguably, if I hadn't have done the dropper post drilling on the Kraken frame, we would probably be pimping up the Vengeance and do the dropper post on the Vengeance, because as that was built as a 27.5-inch frame. So anyway, it's enough waffle. Let's get the wheel off of this 27.5 Vengeance and put it on this Kraken and see what happens. So just before we do absolutely anything, this is the 26-inch wheel in the 26-inch Kraken frame, and that is the tyre clearance that you are given with that, and there is at the top end of the fork, and this is at the bottom bracket end. So if I put a measure in there, we have got just shy of an inch. It's what, 20 to 22 mil clearance. The side's a bit irrelevant, that's what, 18 to 20 mil each side. So whatever, there's no way that gap isn't going to get smaller because we're putting a bigger wheel in. It's just a question of how much that gap reduces by. Let's have a look. So there we are, there's the 27.5 inch wheel in the 26-inch frame Kraken, and that's the clearance that we're left. Now it has tightened it up quite a bit, I can't deny it. It's gone, it's less than, let's say, that is 10 mil. There's 10 mil clearance there. The sides are down to about 15 mil. So, you couldn't get away with putting a more aggressive tyre in there. If you're riding very muddy trails, that's going to clog a lot easier. But you know what? As my wife doesn't ride muddy trails, she only rides paths, cinder bed at best. I think we'll get away with that. We'll give that a go and see how we get on. I can live with that. Right, so next thing to do is to change out this old cassette. Okay, right, first thing is first, before we change this cassette out for a larger cassette, we need to put in the new set screw, which will hold the derailleur further away to give clearance for the larger diameter of the new cassette. So let's get the old screw out, which is here. Let's get that out. As you can see, as I take the screw out, the derailleur is all moving closer to the cassette, like so. Out it comes. I mean, this is quite a long screw on this. This is actually a SRAM X5 derailleur. That's actually a fairly decent length screw. There's a new one, it's got maybe 10mm extra on it. So we'll give it a go, we'll put that on. So, let's thread in the new screw. Let's hold the derailleur away, give it a little bit of clearance. There we go, we just screw that in. So at the moment, you see the derailleur sits like that. If I screw that screw in more, you can see it sits further away like that. It remains to be seen whether this will actually give us enough clearance, you know. We may have to switch out to the Shimano derailleur. Let's get up to its largest. Oh no, there we go. We'll get it up onto its largest. Okay, let's get this wheel out and take off the cassette. So there comes the wheel. Let's take out the quick release skewer. Like so. We need the chain whip and we need the cassette removal tool. So that's like that. And we give that a little tweak. There we go. Off comes the locking nut, and then off comes the cassette. Just give that a bit of a wipe and a clean. Take the new cassette, find the narrowest spline. That one there, marry it up to the corresponding slot on the cassette. On it goes. Put on the other two teeth, so narrowest spline is there. Alright, I should say there you go. And then there on that one. Get the new lock nut, offer that in, let's do it on the flat, might be easier. There we go. So, get our tool again, move it up by hand as much as possible. Don't need the chain whip when you're doing these back up. go. There's your new cassette. Let's put the quick release skewer back in. Like so. And offer it up to the bike. There we go, let's get it done up. Okay, give the crank a bit of a turn. And let's go through the gear range and see how it's doing. Right, so it's currently only going up to the 9th gear, not up to the 10th, so we've just got to make a few adjustments. Okay, so it turns out that this SRAM X5, which was originally designed for 9 speed, certainly wasn't designed for 42 tooth. Whilst it does kind of adjust to get the clearance, it's just not quite enough. There's some rubbing going on. Some of the teeth on the down change, the cage drops straight away rather than being lifted up and over, and then you're getting some tooth wear on the side of the cage, so it's not really ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out this SRAM derailleur for the Shimano Dior that's on that Carrera there. I'm going to put that on here and see what difference that makes. Okay, to swap this out, let's take out that set screw that we just put in, because that needs to go on the Shimano derailleur. So let's just take that out. Out that comes. Hopefully this will all work, you know. Okay, so that's out. That can go into the Shimano derailleur. We now need to disconnect the cable from this. So what I'll do is I'll just nip off this nipple off the end of the cable. I've got these are actually for cutting brake cable and gear cable. Get a lovely clean cut with them, worth purchasing a pair of these, because normal pliers or wire cutters can often fray the end of the cable. There you go, nice clean cut straight off. So let's undo the tension on that. There we go, out comes the cable. Pull that out of there so that can attach to the new Shimano one. Now the chain, we just need to break the chain. So luckily on this chain we've got a quick release link on there. So I'll just get the tool I need for undoing that. So these are the pliers. You get one for closing and one for opening. The opening one squeezes the link together. So if I just put that into shot there, we get the link, which is there, squeeze them together, and there you go. That has opened that up, and then out apart it comes. So we just let that one hang there if possible. Pull the link out of there, and then we can pull the chain back through the cage. One chain plate. Actually, it's very dry, this chain. That really needs a bit of attention. So out that comes. Right, so that's off and out of the way. Now we can remove the derailleur. So what size spanner do we need on there? It goes straight through. There we go. 5mm or 6mm. It is 5mm. There we go, undo that. So off comes the SRAM derailleur. There you go, it leaves the hanger there in place. Now we get the Shimano derailleur. So we get the Shimano derailleur, and we attach, let's try and get this cable out of the way for the moment, like that. Get that engaged. Like so. Nip that up tight. There you go. So now the derailleur is on. We just need to thread the chain back through. Like so, and then we need our link. It goes in there like that. Squeeze them together and pull, and that chain is back together. A decent pedal, and that will cause that to lock into place, or you can use these pliers that go in like that, and that spreads them apart like so. Okay, now it's just a case of putting the cable through there. We could do a bit more length on this really, couldn't we? Okay. So we can borrow that from the other bike. So if we pull that off of there, go to the other bike, which was set up for that Shimano. that's the old bit of cable housing, and this is the one off the other bike. Thread the cable through. Like so. That goes in there. Cable through that hole, and the outer housing goes into place. There we are, that's better, it fits nice. And then you just work the cable up. So we just need the lever to be in its lowest position with all slack off the cable. So we'll screw in the adjuster at the handlebar end. Yeah, it's definitely in its lowest gear, and then just need to offer the cable through. A little bit fiddly. There we go. So we pull the slack in tight, nip up the bolt, put in the new set screw into there. So we take out the old one. Now we fit the new longer screw, or B screw as it's officially called. So in goes that new screw. That will give us clearance with the derailleur cage onto the larger cassette. Like so. So there we are, we've got the Shimano derailleur on there now, along with the 42 tooth cassette, 10-speed cassette. Took a little bit of playing around with the high and low screws there to get the range of movements across the full width of the cassette, but with a bit of playing around it's done. The set screw's been adjusted so that the cage doesn't interfere with the largest 42 tooth there at the back. Plenty of clearance. So now when we pedal through, go through the gears, you see it goes all the way up onto that 42 tooth and all the way down onto that smallest one. So all good there. So the back end of the bike is now done. We've got the 27.5-inch wheel on, we've got a 42 tooth cassette. Now attention will focus onto the front of the bike, where we're going to change out these coil sprung forks for some air forks, and again change out this 26-inch wheel for a 27.5-inch wheel. So let's get onto that. Right, okay, let's sort out the front end of this bike. We want the handlebars, we want the stem, we don't want the forks, we don't need the wheel. In fact, I'm going to take off this old Clark skeletal brake, so that can all come off. So I need to slide off the grip, take off the brake lever, the gear changer can stay on there. Well, the gear changer will have to get moved once we put on the quick release, not the quick release, the lockout for the new front forks. But anyway, let's get this off. let's get off this grip. See if I can roll it back. Once you roll some of it back, it then gives a little bit of leeway on the rest of it. There we go, it's off. Okay, that's that off. Let's get this brake lever off. Well, I can tell you straight away that 27.5-inch back wheel has definitely made the bike a bit higher. The standover height is a little bit higher now, but hey ho. Okay, brake lever off. The rest can stay just for the moment. Let's get this headset undone. Let's see what size bolts. I think they're probably 5mm, aren't they? Loosen them off. That's loose, and we'll do the top cap. Okay, top cap's removed. We should be able to lift the stem and the bars off now. There we go. Let's get them out of there. Now the forks and the front wheel should now just lift out. Let's get the spacers off. There we go. Off it comes. There we are. You can have a unicycle if you want one. Let's place that over there. The bearings don't seem too bad. I had taken them out and cleaned them a little while ago. They were very rusted in. I actually had to hammer them out and de-rust them. Right, so let's put that down there for the moment. And let's get our new forks. Okay, so here are the new forks that are going on. They're a 27.5-inch fork. I think they've got 100mm travel. They have an air bladder on the left side that can be adjusted, and it has remote lockout. It has a bit of damper controlled air. So these are like a copy of SR Suntour Epicons, which are these forks that I run on the carbon hard sounder. These are an amazing fork. These can be adjusted from 130mm down to 80mm travel. You just take the fork apart, move a split pin, move a collar up, and it adjusts the length of these shocks. They're a very versatile shock. Bang for your buck. I find it hard to get anywhere near these. These are great. But these will still cost you about £140, £150, and there's a lot of fake ones on the market, so you do have to be careful. So anyway, with my wife's bike, we've gone for these, which are a Chinese equivalent. They don't have the same range of adjustment. I've had them apart, and I can't see that you can move the split pin in there to move the collar. So they're 100mm and that's it. Maybe with a bit of tinkering I could do it, but it's not as easy to do as on those Epicons. However, this is what we're using. It actually came with a crown race already installed, and that crown race is for a caged bearing headset like that. So that goes down over there and in. So therefore you need, where have I put them? You need cups to go in your frame like that, which take caged bearings. This bike was previously set up for those Suntour XCR forks, and that's shipped with a trapped caged bearing cup. See, like that. Now this can be dismantled and serviced, but that wants like a 45 angle degree crown race on the fork. Now These aren't so easy to service and clean. They are doable, but not as easy to service and clean. These are very easy to service and clean. Ultimately, you'd like a sealed bearing setup, but you know, I'm using what I've got here. So I've knocked out the cups off the frame. They're the old cups and trapped caged bearings. I've taken them out. I've taken the... I'm losing everything. Where have I put everything? Them and them off the bike. That's there. Oh yeah. So now it's a case of putting in these cups into this frame so they can take the caged bearings and use this fork that's got that crown race on it. So I'll do that now. So there we are, the cups are in. There we go, both cups are in. It was just a case of offering them in, putting a little bit of wood across like that, and then tapping it with a hammer until they're bedded and seated in. Make sure they're seated in nicely all the way around, so they're in nice and square. And now it's just a case of rebuilding it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to build up the forks and the headset. So first of all, we put this is an FSA headset. We're going to put this plastic collar down over the steering tube. Goes down over there, and that goes around the crown race like so. We then take one of the caged bearings, and this goes down like so and sits on there, runs around that race. If I put that the right way, let's just feel that's better. Goes on that way, so that sits there like that. This whole assembly now moves up inside the frame. So we lift the frame over. It's a little bit of a mess with all the cables and that already attached. Let's try and get everything where it needs to be, the right side. There we go. And we lower that in. Gets a bit easier from this point. And there we are. That seats in there nicely. So the bike should stand up of its own accord now, just about. I'll bring this basket over here, we might just have something to lean on. There we go, that's just about standing up. Okay, so now we need to put a caged bearing in here. So we take the bearing, drop it down, drop it into the cup. We now need another inner race to go down. So we drop that down over like so. It sits in there like that. We then put in this split collar. This actually applies the tension. So that wedges down into there, so that when you do up the nut at the top of your headset, that gets pushed down into there and creates the pressure against your bearings, as in what you need. We then put another little plastic seal over the top of all this. Maybe that should have gone on, sorry, that goes on before these. Let's just take them back out. We now put on this plastic seal like so. We drop in the inner crown race to there. We then put on the split collet. This acts as like a wedge, so that goes down like that. That creates the tension. When you do up the top nut, everything gets pulled up, that wedge gets pushed down, and that creates the pressure against the bearings. Finally, we put on this top collar, this FSA branded one. It's got rubber seals in there, so it's always good to make sure that this cut top bit of your steerer tube is free of any burrs, because any burrs on there would tear the little rubber seal in there. Just ease that on like so, push that down, and that's it. That's the headset built. Now it's just a question of lifting over the stem, putting any spacers on that you might need. I'll put that spacer on first. Headset goes on. then this half a collar, no, we'll put them on a full collar like that, and then the top nut goes on. So this nut here is effectively like preload, like on your crank. So we do that up by tightening this and that up. It pulls all of this headset together. So make sure it's all bedded in nicely. Let's have a feel. Yeah, that feels nice and smooth, really nice and smooth. Now we get it just lined up by eye as much as we can. Get the handlebar straight, like that. One little 1/8 of an inch turn, and now we start doing up the clamp bolts on the side. Now these are the bolts that actually hold your stem in place, that hold your handlebar straight. Now you nip each one up bit by bit so that you equalise the pressure along the whole depth of the stem. Now these are meant to be done up with a torque wrench, and it's very critical to do that if you've got a carbon fibre steering tube, because carbon fibre does not like to be over torqued. But with alley steerer tubes it's not so critical, you get a feel for how tight it needs to be. Okay, so there we are. There are our forks on the bike. They are nice, there's no knottiness. There doesn't appear to be any rock in that. Can't really tell until we get the front wheel back on, apply the brake and then see if there's any rock. So there we have it, both wheels, back and front, are on. They're both 27.5 inch wheels. The front forks are 27.5 inch anyway, so there was no drama those fitting in there. They just affect the head angle a little bit. That's the replacement brake. It's a Clark's M1 replacing the previous skeletal, and yeah, the caliper to match. So now we have a pair. We've got back and front are both Clark M1s. The headset, as I asked questioned earlier whether that was set right. Yeah, there's no play in that anymore, or rather there's no play in that, I should say. That's all good. So the only real issue with fitting these larger wheels to a 26-inch frame is the on the rear end you don't get so much clearance in that rear fork. You see, if you had a larger tyre you might have issues, but you know, the extent to which this bike gets ridden, it's not really a drama. The other issue is, of course, with the larger wheel, the axles are higher, which raises the whole frame up, which in turn obviously raises up the bottom bracket. So the bottom bracket is higher off the floor, the pedal clearance is higher off, and your standover on the frame is adjusted, affected. So even with the saddle at its lowest point, the whole situation is going to be approximately 3/4 of an inch higher. So for you guys who are really into your frame geometry, yeah, this may be not for you. So there you are, the bike is now finished, bar the chain, that's still inside, but that's no problem. Yeah, new cassette went on, the new air forks are on, the 27.5 inch wheels are on, the new brakes are on. She already had the dropper fitted. This is one sorted 2012 Carrera Kraken. I don't suppose you'll see too many rocking around like that. It's way in advance of anything my wife actually requires, but hey, I enjoy doing it. So please check out some of my other videos. Hit the thumbs up if you've enjoyed watching it, that is, of course, and please subscribe and receive notifications of any of my upcoming videos. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.